Welcome, my dear friends, on social media, my social media parish, and may the name of the Lord Jesus be praised now and forever. And we are into the first Sunday of Advent, and we begin a new liturgical year with the first Sunday of Advent. And since I've used the word liturgical year, what is the meaning of the liturgical year? The liturgical year unfolds the whole life of Christ in the given time that we have. And that given time is the whole year, civil year of the calendar. So time then is something very special for us, because in time Christ is unfolding his life for us. So the purpose of the liturgical calendar and the liturgical year is that to enter more deeply into the life of Christ, in time to become like Christ. Every day we unfold, we unpack this beautiful gift and this call to become more and more like Christ. Thirdly, that each day is a gift and opportunity to know, love, and serve Christ. You see, the gift of time that God has given us. Fourthly, the liturgical year is to share Christ with others. That is why we are all on mission. The moment we are baptized into Christ, we are on mission for Christ. And Christ depends on us to tell others about him and to share him with others. And the fifth meaning of the liturgical year is to know that time is a gift, time is sacred, and time is short. We never know when we will have to say goodbye. However, God is merciful, God is kind, God is loving. He has given us this beautiful gift of time. Now the big question is, why Advent? Why do we have Advent? And what is the purpose of Advent? The reason why we have Advent and the purpose of Advent is to look ahead and prepare for the second coming of Christ. That is the purpose of Advent. And hence, Jesus said in the gospel today, the gospel for the first Sunday in Advent, listen to what he says. He says, "Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Now when these things begin to take place, stand up and raise your heads, because your redemption is drawing near. Be on guard so that your hearts are not weighed down with dissipation and drunkenness and the worries of this life, and that they catch you unexpectedly like a trap." So you see, the purpose of Advent is to prepare for the second coming of Christ. And every day becomes a preparation and invitation to live in the presence of Christ joyfully. To live in the presence of Christ joyfully, becoming more and more like him. So that is the purpose of Advent. However, again, he says three things about Advent. Jesus says three things about Advent in the gospel today. He says, be alert, know your purpose, your mission in life. So be alert. As we are waiting for the second coming of Christ, be alert. Know your mission, know your purpose. Secondly, he says, set your hearts on him. We are to set our hearts on Jesus and nothing else. Even though we have our mission here, as we fulfill our mission, our hearts must be set on Jesus. And thirdly, he says, pray to have the strength to live him every day. Pray to have the strength to live Christ every day in our lives. Now, when we look at Advent, there are two aspects to Advent. There's a twofold aspect to Advent. Number one, in order to look ahead of us, we need to get a glimpse to prepare ourselves, and therefore we look back. So there is a twofold aspect. First, to look forward, and then to look back, so that we can prepare ourselves. As we look back, we can prepare ourselves to look ahead. And we look back in order to see and experience how the Lord prepared His people, how the Lord prepared His people all through history to receive Him in His first coming. And when He came in His first coming, what was the response of the people? That is another topic for another meditation. But for now, the first Sunday of Advent takes up this looking ahead. We look ahead in this first Sunday of Advent. And the second, the third, and the fourth Sunday of Advent will help us to look behind, look back, so that we can prepare for the second coming of Christ. And we look to prepare for the future. Fourthly, looking ahead, what do we see? Now that we are in the first Sunday of Advent and we are looking ahead, what do we see? We see first and foremost that Christ will come in power and glory. That is how Jesus is going to come in His second coming. He's going to come in power and glory. Secondly, this is what the second reading tells us today. The second reading is taken from Paul's first letter to the Thessalonians. And he says, "Brothers and sisters, may the Lord make you increase and abound in love for one another and for all." What are we supposed to do as we prepare for the second coming of Christ? We need, as Paul tells us, to increase and abound in love for one another and for all. Don't just stop there with the people that we know, but to love everybody who crosses our path. The third thing that Jesus is telling us in our preparation for His second coming, He tells us to be alert and pray. To be alert and pray and walk in His presence. Like we walk on the road, there's so much of traffic around us, fast-moving traffic, slow traffic, traffic lights. We have to be alert. So also, in our preparing for the coming of Christ, the second coming of Christ, then we have to be alert. And how do we have to be alert? Praying, always living in the presence of Christ. Now, what is our takeaway message for the first Sunday of Advent? We have three. First and foremost, Christ is coming again. And the Holy Mass tells us in different ways that Christ is coming again. Very often we Catholics think that Catholics don't believe in the second coming of Christ. Catholics do believe in the second coming of Christ. And therefore we need to prepare for His coming. He's coming again. Secondly, to focus on Christ in everything you do, you celebrate, so that His second coming can be a joyful coming for you and for me. And the third, as St. Paul gave us that advice, to increase and abound in love for all. So these are the three little ways we can prepare ourselves every day for the glorious, powerful, joyful coming of Christ in our life. And the Church is telling us through its teachings and through its traditions. You have the Advent wreath here. And we have 4 candles, 3 in purple and 1 in rose, a rose-colored candle. So we have begun the first Sunday of Advent. Why do we have 4 and not 5? Traditionally, the Church believes that it was 4,000 years from the time of creation to the time of the coming of the Messiah. That's a tradition. You don't have to search the Bible for that. It's not there. It's a tradition. And many of us would like to have traditions and symbols. And we have a wreath an Advent wreath, and the Advent wreath is green, telling us that God's love is eternal, therefore the circle, and God's love is always present to us, evergreen. So here then are symbols to help us prepare for the coming of Christ and to celebrate His first coming. So here we are in the period of Advent. Let us take this message home once again into our daily lives. First, that Christ is coming again. Two, that we need to focus on Christ in everything that we do and joyfully welcome Him in His second coming whenever He comes. His coming, in His second coming, is His will. And the third thing is to increase and abound in love for all.